So what we're going to do is we're here to expose it, let people tell their story, and let everybody in the public see the horrors of the court system in Suffolk County, New York.
Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs.
Good afternoon, I'm Gary Jacobs, and welcome to another edition of Long Island Backstory, where we're filming at the Cablevision Studios in Hauppauge, New York, with my lovely crew here today. Phil Antonucci from Smithtown, Donald Caulfield from Bayshore, and our cameraman extraordinaire, Craig Halfto. I'm sure most of you know already. So when I prepare for the show, I have a whole backlog of guests, who want to come on the show, and they're not timely, so I just wait till we do them. And we shoot once a month. We shoot 4 shows. Last night, actually, I was looking through Facebook because I'm addicted to Facebook, I confess, and I saw somebody was running against Senator John Flanagan, who was the majority Republican leader in the Senate. People who know me, I'm actually a Republican now. I converted a few years ago from Democrat, but I am really an independent voter. But I've often said that the worst politician we have here on Long Island is Senator John Flanagan. This man truly disgusts me and was one of the personal reasons that I got involved in politics many years ago, because one of my issues is family law reform. And I tried to meet with the Senator, John Flanagan, for months and months and months. I told him I'd go up to Albany, I'd meet him in his Smithtown office. This man would never, I think I could have gotten an appointment with the president easier than this guy. I even ended up going as far as asking the Smithtown Democratic chairman, Ed Marr, if he could get me an appointment with the senator. And he said, sure, as a courtesy, I'm sure he would meet with you for 10 or 15 minutes. Do you know, he couldn't get me an appointment. And when I started talking about it, many people told me that they had this problem. Anyway, so off on that tangent, I'm reading last night, and I see a Facebook ad that says, Kathleen Cleary running against Senator John Flanagan for state Senate. I said, oh my God, I got to reach out to this woman. I don't care that the show's tomorrow, even though she's probably not going to come on, because most people who want to come on the show, they need to mentally prepare. They want to know what we're going to talk about. I got to get to know them. I reached out to her, and I think we spoke last night, literally about 11 o'clock at night. I got her on her cell phone, asked her if she would come on the show, and she said absolutely. So thank you, Kathleen. I give you a lot of credit for doing that, because one of the questions I asked was, are you just a sacrificial lamb who's going out there, or do you really want to win? Because if you really want to win, I want you on the show. So enough of my speech, because you can come tune in to listen to me. Let me tell you a little bit about my next guest before we ask her some questions. Kathleen Cleary is a lifelong Long Islander. Well, that was a tough one. Kathleen grew up in Massapequa Park and currently resides in East Northport with her husband and teenage daughter. She holds a degree in business administration from Adelphi, and more recently earned her degree in horticultural technology management from the Farmingdale State College in 2016, not very long ago. Today she serves as horticulturist at the Bayard Cutting Arboretum in Great River, where she manages grant research and applications along with native planting. Prior to her cultivating her green thumb, Kathleen honed her leadership skills as a contracts manager at Citigroup, Merrill Lynch, and Accenture. She was tasked with the responsibilities of reviewing agreements and proposals for major communications clients, coordinating coverage for state and local government portfolios, and monitoring contract compliance. Kathleen understands the value of community and has volunteered for local organizations that are in line with her professional experience and personal interests. In 2017, she volunteered to assist the League of Women Voters, the Huntington chapter, and also served as a greenhouse coordinator for the Keep Islip Clean project. Driven to make a difference both locally and statewide, Kathleen has decided to transfer her well-rounded experience into a run for New York State Senate. Her campaign is focused on such timely issues as sensible gun solutions, more flexible voter registration, health care, and reproductive rights. So Kathleen, again, thank you for coming out with such short notice and without having any time to prepare. I appreciate you coming out here.
I really appreciate you asking me, Gary, and this is a great opportunity for me to be able to get and talk to people, to get out to everyone and explain why I'm running. So I believe we have some of the, similar background maybe, is that I've also never really met John Flanagan. We've lived in the same
He's
town.
an enigma. I don't even know if he really exists.
We live in the same town, but no, I personally have not met him. But what got me involved in politics is, before I was, I was a voter, but maybe more leaned independent, and kind of left all the issues up to the politicians. And after the presidential election, which didn't go the way that I thought it would, and many people did, I decided I really couldn't just leave it to the professionals. People should be more active in politics. So I joined League of Women Voters, as you mentioned, and the Huntington group. They're a fantastic group of women. And then I had gone up to Albany on a lobby day for Let New York Vote, which is to open up voting access to people. So it would allow early voting. It would allow you to easily change your party, because I don't know if you're aware, you need to change your party, I believe, 6 to 9 months before the primary, and no one knows who they're going to vote for in the primary. And I had learned about this years ago, I think when John McCain was running, and I remember switching from independent to Republican so I could vote for him, but I didn't have, I couldn't see into the future, and I wasn't able to, change that in time. So those are the sorts of things that really started getting me involved. So I had gone up to Albany, did lobby day, looked around, and I thought, I could, these people are, hardworking and such, but it's not so intimidating. I felt that I could get involved. And what really started drawing me into thinking of running for state senate, as other people may have asked me, and why wouldn't I try maybe Suffolk, but the issues that I am excited about and want to change and work for are at the state level. They're, as I said, voting and gerrymandering. We have some crazy looking maps. I don't know if you've ever seen it. What I've done is,
Jigsaw puzzle.
I know, it's got this little tail. You try to figure out, who lives over there? Why does it run down
And
this
when
way?
you're campaigning, you're like, okay, this street is this district, this street is this district.
Right,
Doesn't
it's
make
really
sense.
important, and that's, again, at the state level. So, and the one thing that really pushed me into getting involved in this campaign is the Crime Victims Act. Now, in my neighborhood, we had a level 2 sexual predator move into the neighborhood. Now, and there wasn't anything we could do with the current laws the way they are, but as a group, we really got together. I live in the Bellcrest area of East Northport, so we put together like a text group, and we have these other groups, and really came together to find out if there was anything we can do, which, right now there's not. But what it really showed me is how much change and positive energy people can get together through a Facebook group or through texting. So now I've met a lot of people. We watch out for each other's kids. Like you've mentioned, I have a teenage daughter. I have somebody who's been convicted of trying to solicit a 13-year-old online. Living 2 houses away from me. So as we met, Huntington Democrats or elected officials at Suffolk, and calling Senator Flanagan's office and Assemblyman Rayo's office, I was noticing that there were certain bills that were up at Senate that were just not being pushed through. They would pass the Assembly, but Senator Flanagan would hold off for them and not even put them up for a vote, which is unbelievable, I think, an abuse
We
of
have
power.
elected officials. Let the people decide.
Exactly. Oh,
He's
right.
not the king.
Yes. And one of those is the Crime Victims Act. So what that does would extend the statute of limitations for someone who has been abused as a child into bringing a criminal or civil suit against that. And it's been passed by the Assembly for years and been sitting with the Senate for years. And it just hasn't gotten pushed. And that is when I decided this is unconscionable that has been sitting there. How could a person hold on to this? I don't understand. He's not answering to me, or to my family, or all these abused children. I don't know who he's answering and why he's holding on to this. So I would say that that's really what pushed me. And I have, other issues, like I said, with voting. New York was like number 4.
Let me just go back to that issue on the Crime Victims Act. Just to play devil's advocate. Nobody wants these people living in the neighborhood, and believe me, if one of them was living next to me, I would be pissed. What do we do with them? Somebody serves their time, they commit a crime, whether it's a crime against children.
Right.
What do we do with these? They serve their time, they go to jail 5 years, 10 years. What do we do with them?
Well, no, and I understand what you're saying. We cannot make laws where they're not living anywhere. You know,
Right, I mean,
down in Florida, there was a point where they had people like that living under a bridge because they had reduced the area to such a small
Right.
spot. That,
I mean, I don't have sympathy for them, but again, they're humans. What do we do with them?
Right, and I do understand. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And what in this particular instance, what we would have wanted was more input, or at least more notice. So what happened is this person, Jonathan Bloom, he was a Queens teacher, and my neighbor. His father-in-law, Hoff, H-A-U-F-E, he purchased the house. And because they lived in Queens and Whitestone and then moved out to East Northport, there was a lag in time and when we noticed. Now, Bloom did not buy the house, so nobody knew that he was going to be moving in. And this is what we've heard from parole officers, is that something that the families usually do is that they move them in undercover. So no one in the neighborhood or the person who sold the house, I mean, our poor old neighbors who would have never sold the house had they known that this person was moving in. Now, like, I understand what you're saying. The people have to move somewhere, but if you were to see the type of place we live and how many young teenage girls there are, his parole officer had said he would have recommended another place for him to move.
Right.
It's quiet, it's dark, kids ride their bicycles all day long. It's just, to me, a very odd choice.
Right. So let me ask you. You mentioned, you answered one of the questions I was going to ask. I mean, you're like jumping right in.
Okay.
You didn't run for the school board.
Right.
You didn't run for the
Right.
town board. You didn't
Right.
run for assembly, legislature. You're going right for the majority leader of the Senate. So I give you a lot of credit for doing that, but. Listen, it's a tough.
Yes.
This is not either. He's the majority leader. You're in a basically Republican town, although as you explained, the spread is different.
Right.
Are you running because you think you have a chance to beat John Flanagan, or are you running because you want the soapbox, you want experience? Do you think you have a chance to beat him?
Yes.
And like I said, I asked you specifically because I didn't want to have somebody who was a sacrificial lamb and just wanted to come on the show, and you said no, Gary. I want to come on, and I think I can win. Explain to us how you figure that you can beat somebody with so much money and so much power.
Well, it's going to be grassroots and knocking on doors. So as I had mentioned to you last night when we talked, I think, like you said, 11 o'clock at night, it was there is a breakdown in District 2. So there are more Republicans, 35%. To Democrats, 30%. But there's 27% of undecideds. And those are the people that I'll be knocking on the doors and talking to. Also, there's, I've forgotten the amount, maybe 5% of independents. And so it's really the undecideds that I'm going to, or the blanks as I've heard them called. Those are the people I'm going to be talking to. And also, Republican women. I believe that I can connect with them and talk to them about my experiences, as a working mother, raising a daughter, as my husband was working, in Queens, and I was working in the city, and we were juggling daycare and doing all the same things that all my neighbors do, and having all the same concerns. And I think that I can also bring, new ideas. And this is another part that I have, and I think this is really a good time for it. Not only I think is it a good time for women to be running, because there are so few of us at the state Senate level, but also new people with new ideas. Like I said, I did contract management for 25 years. I have vast experience that's outside of politics, but very good and hard, difficult people that I've worked with. People in contract management, a lot of even your coworkers, don't necessarily want you in on the deals because, they think they can do them better. But you have to be in there to make sure that the company's being protected, you're saving money, everything's being done right, you're not cutting corners, and those are the sorts of skills that I know that I can bring to the state Senate.
So talk about running against Senator Flanagan.
Yes.
And the viewers should know this is a lifelong politician, and that used to be acceptable. People are like, oh, we'll just keep voting the same people over and over again, and who cares? But the damn system is broken. And what they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you're not happy with the way things are going in New York, stop electing the same damn people. Exactly. Try somebody different. And look, you may agree or disagree with the way the presidential race went. Obviously a lot of people do, but it sent them. What it was clear was that people don't want career politicians in. And listen, we'll say what you like about the president, he's gotten certain things done that other people couldn't have done. So you need fresh blood. And Flanagan is a lifelong career politician. And I sort of jokingly called him the king because I think he thinks he's the damn king. You can't meet with the guy. I mean, you're supposed to be a representative of the people. You're holding up the bills, you're not meeting with people, you're not the king. You're giving out jobs. In fact, we talk about corruption. Here's a guy who's an attorney, which, do we need any more attorneys in politics on Long Island? I think we have enough of the damn attorneys already, right? But okay, he's an attorney, but he's also of counsel and he gets these referral fees. Didn't we just put somebody in jail for referral fees? Isn't that a backhanded way to get corrupt money? But we elected the damn guy again. Enough already with that. And listen, I don't even know if there's anybody else running in this race, but let's at least have an open mind and listen to somebody else. And I agree with Facebook now and the grassroots effort. It is possible to win, and maybe I didn't even ask you. Are you a multimillionaire? Because that would make it a lot easier.
No, I'm not.
Sorry to hear that. I'm not either. But you can do it grassroots now. It can be done, and I'm glad that you have a positive attitude and you're going out there and fighting. So we talked about one of the issues that got you involved in that. The next thing I want to talk about, which I really don't know, but you told me is something that you were interested in, so I wrote it down. The New York Health Act.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to number one, explain what it is, because I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's something about the funding for Medicare, Medicaid.
Right.
So I'm going to let you explain that.
So let me just start that for more information, you could go to the NewYorkHealthCampaign.org, and this act is sponsored by Assembly Member Richard Gottfried, and what it does is will cut out the insurance profit and the administration from insurance companies. So you would keep your same doctors and the health providers that you have currently, but New York State would pay the bills. So it does not put the government in place of the insurance companies who make decisions on how much they're going to pay your doctor and which doctors you can see. What this does is it opens it up and takes out a lot of all the administrative costs. I mean, I know when I go to the doctor and I have to fill out 5 forms, the same 5 forms that I filled out at the other doctor, but maybe it's a little different. And now they have somebody who has to take that and sit down and put it in a piece of paper. I mean, the inefficiency. Now, how much money just on that one person going to one doctor, and then new forms come out and you have to sign more things. And I don't understand how this, how much of my insurance monthly payment, am I paying just for administration?
So this isn't single payer?
Yes.
This is a single payer?
No, this is a single payer.
This is single payer.
But it's called, so it's not, it's called New York Health Act.
Okay. And that's for everybody?
For everybody in New York.
Everybody in New York State.
Yes.
So now people are watching are going to say the same thing, well, who's going to pay for it?
Right. So right now you're already paying for your health insurance.
Right.
Correct. Right. So you're not going to be paying for administrative or insurance company CEO salaries or insurance company profits,
right, which are insane.
The inefficiencies. So which is why I put out the website first of all, because as I am a supporter of it, but there's so many questions that everyone will have, and particular questions to their own plan that I can't possibly answer, which is why you can go to the website and follow that.
And that's one of the things I believe. I've always said, it's such a rich country. How do we have so many people who don't have health insurance? It sickens me, really. I mean, we have money to give money to all these other countries and do all these programs and wonderful things. But if poorer countries can give health care to everybody, why can't we in the United States have at least a basic health care for every citizen, at least? That's another issue, whether you talk about whether citizens or not, and it's a separate issue. But certainly, to start, shouldn't every American citizen have health care. That's just my opinion.
People who have health care, do they need to go bankrupt in order to pay for things that maybe aren't covered?
I mean, it's crazy. It's one of the biggest causes of bankruptcy.
Yes, exactly.
The next thing we're going to talk about, I'm sure, has Flanagan come out on this or no? Probably don't even let him come up for a vote.
No, I don't know.
Okay, so we won't talk his position for that. So one of the big problems that we talk about, and we see all the time, people getting arrested, and is campaign finance. And as I've said before, John Flanagan doesn't want to meet with the average person who doesn't have a lot of money and wants to talk about issues that are going to shake up the system, like the problem with the corruption in the courts and the need for family law reform. I know a lot of people, when I was running for office, Common Core was a big issue, and Senator Flanagan was all for the Common Core because he thought it was great, until everybody else started saying we don't like Common Core, and then he was starting to get quiet, but he didn't want to meet with anybody about it. I met countless people, because as you may have told, I'm a little outspoken, and I told everybody how I feel about Senator Flanagan, being protected from everybody, that he wouldn't let anybody come in. But if you have a lot of money, the senator will meet with you. He's got no problem meeting with the special interests and anybody who's got a big pocketbook. So money rules our politicians here on Long Island. Unfortunately, that needs to change. One of the things you mentioned is in the campaign finance reform was the LLC loophole. Explain what you would do for campaign finance reform and what is this LLC loophole? So
the LLC loophole enables someone to open multiple LLCs, so that's a limited liability corporation. They can obscure who they are, so you can, there's companies out there, 123 Abbott Street. I don't know who owns that. You can have 10 of them, and then you can donate to your representative or to any representative at the individual rate, so say $11,000. So now, if I'm a multimillionaire, I open up 10 of them and I do $11,000, and then I've donated, and that's the way that they get influence, where an actual individual can never get that influence because they have a limit of $11,000, but these other LLCs, and it obscures who's paying and donating to our politicians. So you wonder, why are things not being done? Why are things being held up? Well, maybe it is because there's money being donated through these limited liability corporations, and we don't have any window into that.
And as you said, it's hard to know. I know legislator Rob Trotter, who's in your district.
Yes.
A lot of times he takes the time and he looks into it, and I watch his shows on Facebook, and he exposes, well, do you know who donated this money and who donated that? No, nobody knew, but he takes the time to dig into it. He said, oh my God, well now it makes sense, right? At the beginning it didn't make sense, because who's going to do something for $500, $1,000? But you know what? For $10,000 ones, you're gonna get some influence. We don't have too much time left, and I want to get some of the issues that are important to you. So I'm going to ask you to go through them a little quick. Sure. Let's talk about Common Core. That's a big issue, and you have a daughter in the district.
Yes.
So tell me what your feeling is on Common Core.
Common Core, do not agree with. It was horrible for the teachers, horrible for the students, horrible for the parents. The parents weren't given any tools on how to assist their kids, so there was a lot of crying going on during homework. So now you have Common Core tests, and now you're going to tie it to teacher evaluation. So if the kids can't take the test, they're not doing well. How is that showing how well the teachers are teaching? Because they put together something that was just set up to be a failure.
So let me ask you, what about the meeting with the constituents? I mean, I have a lot of other stuff you want to talk about. You had a lot of issues, but what is your feeling? And I know you're not in, so it's easy for everybody to say. But what is your feeling on meeting with the constituents and letting them decide? And you gently touched on the fact that the senator, one of his big issues is that he doesn't let a lot of things go to vote. Yes. And that bothers me. Even though some of these things are going to go not the way I would like them to go, I still think we're supposed to be a representative government.
Yes.
So talk about, accessibility and some of the problems with Senator Flanagan, and why you think that, well, frankly, he needs to go.
Right. Well, all right, so I don't think he's representative of our district. He's been, as we said, he's been up there since he's about 25 years old, so he's a product of the Albany culture. He doesn't, as you said, he doesn't really meet with constituents. I've never met him or seen him around, and he's, I also wasn't able to meet him when I went up to Lobby Day, and a lot of people that were there have said they've never met him, and in the many, many times that they've gone there. That would be different and be accessible. Maybe I would be more open to be meeting in Smithtown and having some like town halls. I mean, gosh, do we, town halls, they sound like great ideas. I don't think we've ever had one, have we?
No,
I don't know. I
agree, because I go up to Albany on Lobby Days too. And I go around to, my assemblyman is Mike Fitzpatrick. And I don't always agree with him, but you know what? His door is always open, and he's respectful to other people's views. In fact, I brought in a bunch of people who are very liberal, and he's very much the other way. And he sat there with all of them, listened to them, explained his position. He said, I'm here to talk to you. You know, Rob Trott is not my legislator. I call him up and I ask him questions and he goes in. You know, Leslie Kennedy's accessible. So many, but he's not accessible. It's really bothersome to me. What about this thing not putting things up for vote?
I don't understand that. I don't know why you're not allowing the other representatives to represent their constituents to vote on something. Maybe there are people not just in Flanagan's district like us, but people who are, say, upstate who maybe want to vote on that bill. But he holds on to it for, like I said, I don't know what he's waiting for and why he holds that. But other people want to vote for it. Maybe, like you said, it might not go the way that I want, but it should be put up for a vote.
So what do you to the people who are watching, who are Republicans in the district, and you're running under the Democratic ticket? Maybe you'll get some cross endorsements from the other parties. But what would you say to a Republican who's watching and says, "I only vote Republican. They're my values"? Why should they vote for you?
Well, because I am a well-rounded person. I am not only a Democrat. I can't be defined by a party. I've been an independent. I mentioned before that I used to be Republican because I'd wanted to vote for John McCain, and now I'm a Democrat. I don't believe that one party represents a person's entire being. You know, I have business experience. I know I'll be looking out for saving our tax dollars, really digging into the budget and finding out where all of this money goes. That isn't detailed when it's spent, and I am, just I would say like your average Long Island mother. I have the same values as other people. Just because maybe I'm running as a Democrat doesn't mean that we can't come to have the same ideals, and I will really work for you. That's really what I should have highlighted for. I am going to work for all the people in the district. I will be supportive of everyone. I share the same ideals, and we all want the same things. We want, good place to live, good futures for our kids, and that's what I'm going to work hard for.
Great. If people want to have you speak at their events, because people are going to need to know you a little bit better, if they want to meet with you one-on-one, if they have an interest, how do they reach you?
All right. So my website is clearyforsenate.com, and my email is Kathleen@clearyforsenate.com. I'm also on Facebook, so it's at Cleary for Senate, at Cleary for Senate on Twitter and Instagram. So I'm very accessible.
Great. Well, Kathleen, well, that's already so you're already more accessible than the senator is. I don't think he's going to come on my show. Well, I don't know if I came across as biased on the show, but you know what? Nobody's paying me so I could be biased. I'm usually a little bit more fair, but really, you know what? I got to call a spade a spade. This guy is not a good politician for his constituents, for Long Island. We need a change in the Senate. And I'm hoping people learn more about Kathleen. I'm Gary Jacobs, and thank you for joining us here at Long Island Backstory.
Long Island Backstory is made possible in part by Americans for Legal Reform, the oldest, most successful legal group in the world. P.O. Box 2679, Huntington Station, New York 11746. Telephone 631-421-6390. Website Americans4legalreform.com.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.